Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1 World Championship. Sorry for the delay. We're here for the Singapore Grand Prix round 3 of 12. Let's get it underway. Well, it is underway and we've only got time for some final runs. We've got Frantic out on track at the moment. The only car out on track. We have Briscoe Jr. on debut in the lead with a 27.999. Close behind is Verf, then Heischler, then Igapro. A brilliant pole position here a few seasons ago. I think it was 2020, but it might have been in 2019 as well, maybe. We've got the championship contender. Well, I say championship contender. Zingy did drop down the order since leading the World Championship from race 1 after getting a puncture in race 2 and dropping down to P10, scoring 1 point. Jericho Willis, championship contender in P2 in the championship, has been disqualified. And I'm just having a look. They waited for a few people on the way out of the pit lane and the game didn't like it. So unfortunately it disqualified them from the session. So that is going to be an unfortunate start for Jericho Willis. Right at the back of the pack, we are yet to know what happened to the Scotsman, but I assume there was an issue that meant they are now in the wall and not in the session. We have Selkin and Tom out on track at the moment. We're going to get the data up on your screen just to double check everything is as it seems and as we expect. Selkin will not be going first. I thought it was going to be the Norwegian, but it won't be. It will be Tom who goes first, and then we'll see. We've got outlaps from many drivers now. It's getting busy. Sorry for the delay. We are finally back and we are good to go. There it is, and there it is. Alrighty, and it's Tom who does have the Aston Martin up in front, but they don't have their battery on, so it looks like that's it for Tom for this lap, and they're going to go again. It's Sulkin who does slightly miss the first corner there on the inside, but still gets through cleanly. We'll see what they can do in the next few corners as they pass through the first sector. Cutting hard over that inside curve, so they got that inside corner much better than the previous, and over the sector line. What's it going to be? It's going to be 2.5 tenth improvement here for Sulkin, and that will bump them up to P4, maybe to P3. Obviously Heischler and Igapro are going to try and compete against that and see what they can do. Livesey trying to have a go and beat their teammate after a really good first race in the Netherlands, and it didn't really work out in the end, but great pace rides, and then Austria just didn't quite work out as they were hoping for, and now we see Sulkin carry on through the hairpin, looking pretty solid so far. Over the sector line once more, 3 tenths improvement, that looks pretty good for now. Purple in the middle sector going fastest over the car ahead, directly in front of them, and this should end up dropping them, or jumping, sorry, them into P3, and if not, they can go to P2. Temporarily it may be, but they've actually run out of all the batteries, so they're going to possibly lose them at the very end, and they do, and they don't get there on Heischler, as they ran out of battery in the final moment, and what a devastating moment to have the battery run out on you. We've got Verf who finishes their run. What's it going to be from the race winner in Austria? It's going to be a provisional pole position, a 27.825, a brilliant lap so far. Then it's going to be Igapro to P3 as they improve ahead of Heischler. Then we've got Heischler himself giving it a go, the only McLaren in qualifying, and it's going to be to P2. They can't get there on Verf. A brilliant attempt, but it's not going to work out. Then we have Tom, who's invalidated on their lap. It's going to be LSI up next, and then the provisional pole sitter from a few moments ago. Briscoe will try and give it a shot as well. LSI going through the few corners and they're slow, but they still seem to make it quite tidily. They've run out of battery as well, but they might have just planned it out correctly, and it is going to be P6 for them, and they gave it their best shot. But here we go. What can the provisional pole sitter from earlier on do? Can they get it back? And they can! A brilliant lap there from Briscoe, 27.7, and that is a brilliant lap from the Williams car, and ahead of last race winner Heischler. Good to see them back on the grid after not being able to race last time due to a technical difficulty, and then Igapro in P4 around the circuit that he loves a lot. Zingy though, known as Zingy Port, this circuit will be one that they want to conquer. That being said, it's not like they're on wheel anymore. It could be a different story. Do they still have the same love, the same skill for this night circuit, or is it a little bit different this time around? We'll find out very shortly. We'll see what we can find across the grid. So Zingy actually hit the wall on the outside of the bridge section, so that's what happens to them. That's where they went wrong, and hopefully they've learnt their lesson for the race and we can have a good race. We've got Briscoe Jr. on pole position on debut for LSI, then Verf in P2 and Heischler in P3. We go through the race director just in case, and scrolling down the order, and we'll go through the pit stops as it's never really a thing. We'll see in a bit for the Grand Prix. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? The Williams on the outside line. It's going to be Verf on the inside, but a terrible start means the Aston Martin and the McLaren go through. Heichler manages to get the Eager Pro in P3, and there it is, Verf down the order already and still being fought, now being fought by Livesey, who's at a brilliant start with a very, very, very nice move around the outside. What is going on to Verf in these opening moments? We're looking at the tyres. Everybody is exactly the same, and Verf continues to drop down the order. They've got some big problem as they now get overtaken and a little bit shoved off the circuit by Solkin. The race winner just dropping like a stone. It is Briscoe who leads the way by already a second. Heichler going to try and see if they can do anything about it, and an Eager Pro follows in pursuit. Livesey a brilliant start, very close to the inside wall, right off the bat on lap one. That was a close one. And then we've got Verf, who now tries to stabilise in P6. They've got Frantic directly behind them. Jericho Willis is directly behind Frantic with the Scotsman as they overtake Tom in the opening corners. And now we've got the two championship kind of fighters trying to see if they can make their way through the grid a little bit further. But that is a brilliant first sector there for Briscoe, and Thingy is definitely upset that he can't fight the Williams car, who is having a brilliant first few corners and a first lap. As I've just said, and I'm not going to say it again, that is Heichler chasing down the 33.106, but 1.3 seconds. It's only getting bigger right now. And that was a bit of a moment, I think, from one of the cars behind Eager Pro. 8 tenths, but they will get DRS. And it is Briscoe who is pretty low on battery, so they are pushing that car. It's Eager Pro getting the DRS, but they're not going to be in a position to overtake. Everybody is in the train except from the Williams. Of course, with good ERS management around a street circuit, you don't need to worry about being overtaken. But of course Heichler does have a little bit more in the tank, it looks like. They are turning the battery off here and there as well. So we'll see how this goes for Heichler, what their plan is. But they're stabilising a little bit more. They're not losing as much time. I just say that and then they proceed to lose 2 tenths. But further back, can we see any moves into the technical sections of the circuit? We can, as Zingy goes absolutely full send on Jericho Willis in the hairpin corner. An absolute classic. And now Tom's going to have a look to the inside as well to try and send it, but that's not going to work. That's going to be the outside line with a big opening of the steering wheel for Jericho Willis and allowing them to gain traction. Especially with a car directly in front, that just wasn't going to be a move there for Tom. Unfortunately, they gave it a good shot. You know, Jericho Willis has got to try and get in the good headspace to be able to recoup and stay with Zingy's DRS, because Zingy now has 1.6 seconds to Frantic, and they've got to try and find the pace to gain back on a DRS train, which is going to be absolutely brutal. Currently, the Alpine car sitting behind Verf, who once again I will say has stabilised their pace from earlier on. They have Solkin, who's doing a phenomenal job in these stages of the Grand Prix in P5 after a tough start to the season so far. And then we see Heichler giving a good old crack to try and catch up and get DRS on Briscoe right now, because Briscoe, I would assume, doesn't have as much battery as Heichler does. You can see the McLaren in the background there, a lovely camera angle as they try and chase each other. It seemed that last lap, this is where Briscoe really had the advantage, and they have it once again. So Heichler is strong in the first sector, but is Briscoe in the middle sector where they are absolutely mighty and have everything they need to stay in front. DRS is a thing on this little straight, I do believe, and it is going to be even more helpful for the cars behind. Eager Pro 9 tenths away from Heichler, who continues to push the limit to try and catch up to the Williams in front, and it's Eager who's going to have to try and step up their game. Livesey not able to do the same thing, and Solkin is going to be looking to attack now. DRS is not available for the second Aston Martin. Oh, and that is a mistake there for Tom, unfortunately going down the order, and they're going to lose out big time. 2 seconds is the gap now between Zingy and Frantic, and that's not getting any smaller at this stage. EagerPro did hold on to DRS range, and it is Heischler who now gets there in the first sector. Once again, even in the first few corners, they have the strength. I think they know what to do in the first complex, and that's what really makes the difference. Just can they hold on through the rest of the lap? Now they encounter that dirty air, even stronger than ever before in this Grand Prix. And of course, if you're closer to another car, you get a little bit of an obstruction with the view of the track ahead of you, and you can end up getting a little bit too close to the wall if you're not careful. So they've got to look out for a few things. They've got to pay attention. It is Singapore. Of course you have to pay attention. Looking good so far, but Live C not able to catch up back to their teammate. It's actually now 1.6 seconds. Is Sulkin going to be looking for a move sooner rather than later? I don't know, but you can see 1.9 seconds. Zingy is slowly catching. It's one thing catching the cars, it's another thing able to overtake around this circuit. Igor just about holding on to DRS range as they go into the next few corners, but they're going to lose it now before they go into the following corner. And it's Heischel who's actually maybe looking at an attack. The Aston Martin is safe for now from the Ferrari car, but the Ferrari might have a look in a few moments' time. That's Tom retiring in the pit lane, unfortunately not happy with the situation they're in. It's not going to be enough for Heischler to go for a move. Is it going to be enough for Sulkin? Oh, and it is, but it's going to be contact as there was a misjudgment and the Ferrari goes ahead. Oh, it's Zingy leaving the session. Zingy has a connection issue, and if their day wasn't bad enough, it gets even worse. The Scotsman is out and down the order, 9/10 away, dropping like a stone, and they're going to have to regain all of the time that they've just gained on the field in front of them. It's Heischler closer than ever before, and they have split away from EagerPro. Of course, we saw Sulkin go for that move as well, which was a brilliant move. It was a little bit of a miscommunication, I think, just initially. I don't think the Ferrari got damaged, but they did immediately go back to the racing line. I think maybe it's a bit of a hint to Livesey to kind of pay attention, which was a bit cheeky. Whether they'll be looking into that or not later on, I don't entirely know, but we'll see how that one plays out. Oh, and it's going to be the pit stops for Sulkin. Sulkin early into the pit lane. I thought a car was going off, but no, it is just the Ferrari having a problem. And also, in the meantime, Zingy has just regained control of their car and is 4 seconds behind Jericho Willis. So they've effectively lost 5 seconds, unfortunately. So that is really frustrating for them. Sulkin going for the crazy undercut, and that could cause some of the cars ahead to react, to prevent any kind of problems that they may encounter. And we continue. As Briscoe having a brilliant race so far in the blue car. But the orange car wants to try and have a go, and I want to say Heischler won his first and only ever Grand Prix around this circuit. I'm not entirely sure if that was the case. I know it was Nifo's first Grand Prix victory. Unfortunately, the championship leader is not with us today. Will we see the move? EagerPro not too far away, very much in visible attacking range. If they just find that little bit more, it's going to be frantic. And Jericho Willis switching positions as Jericho finally makes a pick on the cars that they were trying to attack ahead. Heischler has that DRS, has the ERS, but it's not going to be quite so possible. I won't ignore you, don't worry about it. Sorry, I didn't read your message earlier on. Good to see you, and thank you very much for returning back. Someone who's not going to be thankful is Heischler for that apex. Just missing it a little bit, but with the dirty air, I don't think they're worrying too much as they're able to catch up regardless. I think it's just something that you have to consider with the dirty air in the F1 25 game. Heischler very close to the back of the race leader, not able to do anything, just trying to have a look at the past results and see where it was. It was Heischler taking his first and only ever LSI F1 victory around this circuit 2 seasons ago, and they're going to try and repeat it this time. Is it going to be possible? I think it is. It's the one that they want. It would be a hell of a story as they try and take away that title from Zingy. Of course, that would be difficult to do. It's Frantic who goes into the pit lane, and they're going to make that call to go earlier than most as well. Just a lap later, or 2 laps later, effectively. As that was Heischler looking for the inside line, and that's showing that they want to go for a move, but they're already going to look for the move, and very well reacted to was Briscoe, as that was not a committed overtake attempt there from Heischler, and that would have been a big problem. But luckily for Heischler, that Williams moved out the way and didn't cause any problems. That was survival there from Briscoe. They hold on for now. Heischler's got to make sure they stay focused and they don't have any more issues like that again. DRS is available. Will they use the ERS to try and make the move? ERS has been turned off by Briscoe as they look to back off and allow the McLaren to go through, following them so closely. Will they go into the pit lane, Heischler? No, they will not. And neither will the Williams. DRS and dirty air for the first time in the Grand Prix. No battery to fend for. I thought they turned the battery off, but they didn't. They just don't have the battery to compete. They go off the circuit in the dirty air, now they experience it. Heischler's also trying to push the limit a little bit as they've got some wobbles with the balance of the car. EagerPro watches this change up in front of them. And with such strong pace so far in this Grand Prix, Briscoe now finds herself in a bit of trouble. 5 tenths away, of course, nothing to really worry about too much, but it is definitely a big sway, and the body language of that car is much different. Of course, the first time that we're really looking at the car from the front angle, I'm not looking at the rear wing, so it's easier to see the steering inputs, but it has definitely changed, I feel. As you see another moment there, unfortunately, as Briscoe continues to have problems. Luckily, this is a strong part of the circuit for them, so they're able to hold on to DRS, but is it going to be enough? DRS will be available once again. Heischler spots the opportunity to try and break away, but I think the double DRS detection zone is going to save the Williams car here. 1 second, it will be brought back down, and they've got a couple of corners to try and push and remain with the McLaren. A brilliant gain that they managed to find there, braking as late as they possibly can, but ERS is still of a minimum, and Heischler is going to be kind of aware of that at this stage. It's going to be a tough one for the Williams, but they're finding a little bit of stability here and there. It's just, how is this strategy going to go? Whether there was a mistake from Frantic or not, I don't know, but that looks very ridiculous to see a 9-second gap between the Ferrari car, and that is going to be Livesey and Jericho Willis switching positions before turn 7. A big off. Oh, from the McLaren. Livesey comes back across and unfortunately cuts in front of the Aston Martin, and Jericho Willis, although getting that move done quite nicely, wasn't able to get the car slowed down for the following corner, and that is then going to be Jericho Willis going for the move again, and that is not an easy place to overtake. I think Livesey tried to take a little bit of avoiding action, ended up hitting the wall a little bit, and that's definitely not their confidence as you see them go for a correction into the hairpin. Livesey not happy with the situation, but I don't think Jericho really did anything wrong. They went for a move in an unorthodox place, but it didn't really look like they didn't give enough space. Now Zingy catches up to the pack, catches up effectively to Jericho Willis. Of course, they've got a little bit more time to really get there. It's Verf into the pit lane. Is anybody else going to follow? No, they don't. Briscoe actually, into the pit lane as well, going for the undercut on Heichler. That's wise. That's very wise. You see the struggle, you see them get overtaken, and now they go back into the pit lane. Pit stops for 2 cars on lap 11 out of 31. And Livesey has the pressure from the Scotsman behind. DRS not available for the Aston Martin, and Zingy is not going to be wasting any time. Battery is basically dead for both cars. It's just DRS and setup, and that is Zingy in front. That's P4 for now, but of course a few cars have made pit stops. Actually, they are second to last regarding the pit stop situation at this stage, but they are close behind Jericho Willis. They bring Livesey back into the DRS, but a big slide there for the Aston Martin is going to lose them all the lap time that they had before, and DRS is going to be gone for the green car. Nothing they can do about that one, unfortunately. Livesey's going to have to try and go back to the drawing board to think again to see if they can do anything else. But Zingy wants to try and have a go at getting ahead of Jericho Willis. They got ahead of them earlier on, disconnected, had issues. They've had a tough day so far. They've still got a long way to go in this Grand Prix. A very long circuit and a lot of laps to travel through as well. There it is, Jericho Willis into the pit lane. Heichler doesn't go into the pit lane, and I'd assume that's going to be Heichler into the pit lane on the following lap. Egapro going to probably try and follow the race leader here. And of course Livesey following as well, as the Hungarian waits to see where they end up, and that's a big drop back from where I thought they would be, as Frantic will overtake them into the first corner, and Jericho Willis will drop all the way behind the Alpine car, and that's 5.6 seconds Frantic has to the next car in front, which is Verf and Sulkin. That undercut was definitely pretty nice to have for Verf, but still, that being said, Verf now has a decent advantage regarding tyre life, and Sulkin has got a tough task ahead of them to get anything done at the end of the Grand Prix. All of their work has been into the earlier stage of the stint, and now they've got to just try and lay in the bed that they've made for themselves. But look at the pace advantage that the race winner from round 2 has got. Absolutely immense confidence in the car with the grip that they have. That being said, they are sliding around on those tyres a lot. That's a risk. That is a big risk that they're taking right now. DRS very possible and very likely for Verf. They're going to get it already. But when will they look to overtake? That is the rest of the cars into the pit lane. Where will Zingy end up? And how far ahead is Briscoe? We're looking at the gap. We see that Briscoe goes way into the lead of the Grand Prix. And 3.8 seconds. That's going to extend a little bit further because of cold tyres as well. For Heischler, 2 lap fresher tyres as well. So it's about 2 seconds undercut per lap, which is going to be pretty tough to take. Verth looking to overtake early on into the attack here on the Ferrari, and that's going to be as close as you want to get it to the wall. They try to give it a good shot, and it's actually damage for Sulkin. Okay, I didn't realise that was the case, and that would explain why the pace difference is so aggressive. I didn't realise that it would be that bad, but look at the difference between, even though I know the tyre life is pretty insane, Eager Pro and Verth. The tyre life isn't that different, but the gap is huge. And I think maybe Eager Pro's had an issue that we don't know about, because Frantic is a lot closer than they were earlier on to the Serbian. And that is still a full front wing, so maybe a loss of traction and a loss of momentum for Igor was the cause of their racing situation change. Heischler with a 2-lap advantage of the Williams in front of them, but a 3.8 second gap. Has Briscoe played this to perfection? That's the question. 3.7 seconds, it comes down, and again 3.6 seconds as they tick away. Slightly warmer tyres for Verth, 1.9 seconds away from Heischler, and they continue to extend nicely from Sulkin with the damage. Verth looking to try and get their second podium in a row. Would they try and go even further? I mean, 2.2 seconds. Heischler's on a bit of a roll right now with the lap time at the moment. I don't know when it would be, but it looks fairly inevitable that Heischler will be able to catch up to Briscoe. It depends on how both drivers deal with tyre wear and wheel spin throughout this Grand Prix. And that's another pit stop there for Zingy. It's a hard tyre for the Scotsman, and they are very far behind everyone now. Livesey 36 seconds behind. Going in for a set of medium tyres. Was that damage for Zingy? We're going to have a quick look actually, just to double check, because the pit stop section would explain it. Front wing changes for both drivers, unfortunately, and it was Frantic who did have an issue earlier on. That would explain a lot. It's such a shame to see Zingy have this kind of problem, but 2 points on the board is not the Singapore Grand Prix that you want, especially when you're known for taking victory. 3.7 seconds now. Although it looks like they actually just lost time from Briscoe in front, they have actually gone and set a fastest lap, unless they were 4 point something seconds behind. I think I've maybe seen the wrong number, but we'll see. We'll see. Thank you very much for the comment. I do appreciate that. It's not as good as it should be, but we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. And Heischler continues to push. That's Eager Pro and Sulkin switching positions as Sulkin is helpless with the damage, but still trying to hold on. Frantic 5.6 seconds behind with slightly better tyres. Would the Alpine have the chance of catching up? Well, Jericho Willis has caught up to the back of Frantic. These guys have worked together in the past, and it looks like they might try and do something similar again. Jericho Willis trying to make amends from the difficulties they had in qualifying, not of their own fault. Such a shame for Jericho, but for Nifo's sake, the less points the better gain-wise, and currently Jericho Willis doesn't go for the move. They caught up massively in the final moments of that straight, but DRS is available and they look to have a go with a little bit of ERS, but Frantic doesn't fight it. They don't need to push anymore once they have got ahead. I think Frantic's going to try and stay within DRS range, but look at the confidence that Jericho Willis has. 9/10 already gained. DRS available for the Alpine just for a moment, but will that last? Currently we're looking at a World Championship leader position by the end of this Grand Prix, if it was to finish as it is. Heischler, fastest car out on track between the top three. We don't quite know how it is for everybody else, but we'll see if Zingy can put a fastest lap on in the slightly fresher tyres, and they can. The 31.855, the new fastest car on the track. We will watch on board with the Williams as you can see the McLaren come into shot. And we'll have a look at the fastest lap. 31.8 and a 31.9. Slight difference with a slight tyre difference. Not a massive difference at all. Only a lap or so. But it is there. Eichler looking to gain a big chunk of points. It will be Jericho Willis getting ahead of Niffo. It will be Verf getting ahead of Niffo. It will be Zingy trying to get ahead of Niffo, but they won't be able to succeed. Heischler, I assume, would be able to get the 32 points if their pace continues this way. It may not be the case. Don't take it for granted, this pace for now, because it could change very soon, very quickly. Currently 12 points in the championship for Heischler after missing the last race. Not their fault, it was a technical difficulty. Igapro 18 points after a difficult pit stop that they had in Austria. That really caused their race to go downhill. Podium in Zandvoort though, in the 4th place right now, is definitely looking quite solid for them, and they would also look at jumping ahead of Nifoyan, so Niffo will be losing around about 4 positions after this race if it stays as it is. But it's Formula 1, it's league racing. You never know how it's going to be until the final moments. That is the Scotsman getting the first time penalty of the evening. And we've gone 17 laps without getting any time penalties, which is very, very impressive indeed. Also impressive is the rate that we're seeing Heischler catch up to the Williams. Well, I'm thinking that Roscoe would have hoped that Heischler would have caught up a little bit later, because the advantage that Heischler has by catching up a little bit earlier is that they have opportunities to gain that position into P1. If they didn't gain, and they had only a couple of laps to try and make that move, then maybe Brosco would have had an easy chance at defending that position all the way to the end, as it is Singapore. But for now it is what it is. And I will quickly bring something into the equation that I forgot was a thing. We've had word of rain in the final few moments of the Grand Prix, the final minutes of the race. And that could change everything. Roscoe will be looking to try and stay in front for as long as they possibly can, and it's side by side as Sulkin fights with the damage. The switchback's going to be available, but Jericho Willis will not be able to do what they did earlier on the Ferrari themselves. Oh, sorry, it wasn't. It was Livesey in the end, but Jericho might have a go into the next few corners, definitely within the next 2 DRS straights. They've been for a couple of overtakes in the final DRS straight. They gain a little bit here into the next corner. They'll be able to gain with the damage on that Ferrari car. They'll be able to get back onto the throttle. They also have a nice tyre advantage as well. But they are a bit slippery in a straight line as the Ferrari defending to the inside line and going as late as they can on the brakes. And it's going to be Jericho Willis holding on for now. Although it is a bold tactic for Sulkin to try and stay ahead with the situation that they've got, it is definitely an idea. It's going to be, way too early turning in for Sulkin there, and Jericho Willis is not going to be pleased. No battery left to go on the attacks. It's just about the DRS and the damage on the car. Would they be able to go for the move here? ERS slightly available here for Jericho Willis, and it's not really available for the Ferrari, but it's just enough that the McLaren is able to was not able to make the move. And now Jericho Willis is going to be a little bit less patient with making a move, I think, in the next few laps, or within this lap, because Sulkin has just turned in a little bit too early, and that's going to be Jericho Willis with a bit more fire in their belly to make that move, as they've got the hairpin coming up, but it's still not going to be Jericho's corner, as they look at getting a good exit here. The throttle control is alright. They're just not really finding the confidence in the bridge section. And that's where Sulkin's able to gain, even with the damage in the car. DRS available for the McLaren. In the meantime, we see the two race leaders who might be looking for a switch up here. But we continue to watch the battle between the other McLaren. This live series second time penalty of the evening. Is it going to be Heischler looking at making the move? We're going to see Jericho Willis once again. Heischler will not make the move this time. Jericho Willis is a little bit too far back. They just dropped in the final corner. Briscoe holds on, but Jericho is going to look at making this their next opportunity to try and have a go. And look at how much battery they've just gained by sitting behind the Ferrari. And now it's a pretty much guaranteed move. Jericho Willis will choose the side, left or right. It's going to be right as they go defensive, but it's way too much this time. And Jericho Willis cleanly makes the move. A little bit late into the braking zone once again, as they lost that earlier on with, it was Livesey who retook the position, but now Jericho Willis on merit into P5. And they're on the same tyres, or similar tyres, as Egepro and Verf ahead of them, as both Heischler and Briscoe as well, so not really anything to gain on tyre life, but 10 points is still massive, and it is still going to be the championship lead for Jericho Willis. Being said, it would be 36 points, and Heischler would look at getting 32 points, so McLaren would all of a sudden have a very strong campaign. And I think that would extend their championship leaders. I believe they are already the championship leaders after Austria. This time around, though, it looks like it might be the other McLaren looking for the move. They go to the right-hand side, does the Williams to try and give it a go. It's going to be the inside, though, for Heischler, giving it at their all at the outside line, taking the long way around up to track limits, and the Williams is not giving in, but now it's the inside once again for Heischler, and it's either going to be a switchback or nothing, and a bit of a loss of traction. Icy conditions, it looks like, for Briscoe, just not enough there, and unfortunately for them, the move is done, and Heischler has clean air for the first time in a long time. That was a brilliant move there from Heischler. I thought they were going to be caught napping, but they were a bit fortunate there with the Williams breaking traction. And they just have a little bit of a tricky moment that causes them to lose it. I'm sure they'll give it another go as long as they hold on to DRS, but the strength in the McLaren and the chances of them taking their second ever Grand Prix victory and their second Grand Prix victory at the Singapore circuit is becoming more than likely at this stage, with 1.2 seconds already gained. A strong weekend for McLaren despite the setbacks last weekend and for one of the cars this weekend. Zingy doing what they can, a little bit further behind, 3.6 seconds with time penalty to their name. 3 seconds for Livesey and Frantic ahead, so they could fight Livesey on track for position, but they've only got a few laps to do it. A frustrating race, but still looking for points as the Scotsman. The championship mentality, the champions mentality. They are a 6-time champion, they know what to do. And now they compete in their first championship on wheel, looking to try and have a challenge at the title with different equipment. Heischler now 1.4 seconds. They extend another 2 laps over the last lap or so. They've got a bit of battery to spare, so they're finding confidence as they continue. No battery here for Briscoe, and the Williams has a difficult situation on their hands. Heischler, I do believe in the past may have had, or last season, either they missed the Grand Prix or they had a few issues. So they can't afford to let that happen again. If they do let that happen again, then, well, that would be pretty devastating with the effort they've put in so far. Giving it their all, showing great pace. And outpacing Verf, and also outpacing Verf is Igapro with a slight advantage on tyres. Verf, a brilliant qualifying, but from starting P2, they ended up dropping all the way down the order to around about 5th, maybe 6th position in the end. I think it was about 5th, and it just really stunted their race progression. If it was a little bit different, they might have been in the train to try and compete for this Grand Prix, but of course with the pace advantage from the 2 cars in front, it might be a little bit different. That being said, I say the 2 cars in front, I think it is just Heischler breaking away at this stage, as Briscoe had a lot of pace with that battery to assist them. Igapro with DRS now for the first time in a long time, after having an issue after the pit stop section, and you can see now the rain is on the screen. It's kicking in, lap 24 to 31, and it's crunch time for Igapro. It's a VSC, as someone's had an issue, as that's Frantic, unfortunately, with no front wing. A VSC is brought out, an interesting colour yellow. It's going to be sulking into the pit lane. With that damage, they only need to worry about the car directly behind them, who's also going into the pit lane for a front wing change. So it does make sense for sulking somewhat. Are they going to try and go for the inters? They're going to take the risk. They're going to take the risk on the intermediate tyre. Will Frantic do the same thing? Well, I'm not entirely convinced that we're going to see that heavy rain, but they are going to also take that risk and hope that the circuit gets wetter as soon as possible. Will that be the case? I don't know. Igapro is hoping that the VSC ends as soon as possible. They got the DRS, and their opportunity to overtake was taken away from them immediately. It's now back once again. DRS might be available just a little bit longer, and long enough for them to have a go. Cooled down tyres now after that VSC. You can see the front end was completely unstable there for Verf, and also the rear end for Igapro. Live see into the pit lane. 30 seconds behind the Scotsman now. All of a sudden Zingy has made that move, and they're 1.7 seconds back on Frantic, and they're going to be gaining. We're not going to see Igapro make the move just yet, but we're going to see Zingy have an opportunity to utilise the performance with this slick tyre that will still be optimal for the time being. Now, is that tyre going to be good enough to get them in front of Frantic, or are the conditions going to get a little bit too wet? Of course. Oh, and Zingy loses the car. The slick tyre is not going to work, and I don't know what to say. Zingy has had an absolute howler of a race so far, and it continues. They're now going to be under or at risk of dropping behind the Aston Martin, and I think they actually will. It's going to be Igapro making the move on Verf. Unfortunately, we've just missed it. The 2 slick tyre runners staying the straight line so far. It's Briscoe into the pit lane. It's another yellow as it's slow moving for the Scotsman, and I don't know what is going on here with Zingy, but they're just devastated, and unfortunately I don't know why they're doing that, because, well, if they were able to hold on, then they might have been able to compete for an extra point, but right now with no front wing, they're not really thinking about that extra point, unfortunately. 25 laps of 31. When will we see a pit stop from the race leader? They think about it, they have a look to the left, but you know, it's not optimal unless the game tells you it is by disabling DRS. And Briscoe going for that very early pit stop. I don't think it's going to exactly help them. Oh, and that is Verf going to the pit lane very, very late on, and hoping for an opportunity for the DRS to be disabled as they're in the pit lane. And that was a very slow entry to the pit lane as well. I think they got a little bit of an issue and they ended up being stuck for a moment. Dinghy having a very slow stop with that damage, of course. And Verf leaves the pit lane just in front of them, and these two cars are going to be having a bit of a direct pace comparison in the intermediate conditions. It's Sulkin on that slick tyre as well. They'll be able to gain some time back on Verf, but they're more focused on Frantic, who's also got that 3-second time penalty. Heischler going to be struggling on this slick tyre now as it continues to cool down, but will there be an advantage for Briscoe at this stage? I don't know. The leader has a 29-second advantage, with Heischler locking up the front tyres quite severely. I don't feel they're going to wait for the game to disable DRS, because it might be that they pass the pit lane entry and then DRS is disabled, and if that's the case then they lose out on a lot of performance. It is going to be the call into the pit lane, as I thought, from Heischler, and they enter second gear, first gear. They don't fall for the trick of entering in first gear, or third gear I should say, and there it is, the pit stop is called. When will we get that disabled DRS though? That's the question. It's going to be Egapro staying out and into the lead of the Grand Prix. Heischler is going to lose out a little bit from that, but it's Jericho Willis directly in front of the Williams. There wasn't any kind of blocking there from Briscoe. It's going to be a 10-second time penalty as Jericho Willis just unfortunately makes a bit of a mistake and misjudges the situation. Briscoe 2 laps older than Heischler, 2 laps warmer than Heischler, 11.8 seconds. How is this going to go with Egapro? Jericho Willis into the pit lane and having a bit of a tough time. Sulkin's going to be gaining, and now, although track position will still be pro Jericho Willis, can they extend a 10-second advantage? Briscoe a 3-second time penalty, and that's only going to help Heischler even more. Jericho Willis tries to warm up their tyres. 2.3 seconds is the gap between Heischler and Briscoe. And with the slightly straight section, Heischler gains. Frantic, another time penalty for another car. Briscoe finding the sector that they're strong in, as they have been strong. Egapro continues to stay out as they haven't been called into the pit lane by the game, and all of a sudden things are changing, and it's the Serbian who's going for a bit of a different strategy. 9.5 seconds to keep their car out of the wall and ahead for the next 4 laps. Four laps and 9 seconds is what the Aston Martin has got to work with here, as Heischler is trying to get their second win of their career. Egapro trying to get, I don't know how many wins in their career. Maybe the 7th or 8th career victory. And potentially their first one around Singapore. A circuit that they've always gone well at, not really having much fortune in the Grand Prix. In qualifying though, their pace of previous seasons has been absolutely phenomenal, and now it might be enough. Slick tyres, it's only going to get better for the wet conditioned runners, and 7.4 seconds is a big change, especially for 4 laps. That is a tough car to drive. Pitting, and they'll end up in P4, losing out from the podium, as they were looking to try and get the podium off of Verf, but this is the risk that they're taking, so they've risked a podium for a victory. Is the trade going to work? I don't quite know. I'm not convinced. Also, not convinced by Heischler's pace compared to earlier on. Briscoe seems to have it nailed down in the wet conditions relative to Heischler. 3 seconds, of course, is going to be into the equation and going to make it even more difficult, but it's still around. Heischler. .5 seconds. You can see the green car just directly in front of them, working with the rotation from the wet conditions nicely, especially in the heavy corner sections of the circuit. And it's really still an advantage to a slick tyre. Maybe not going into the pit lane for a slick tyre, but Frantic goes for it. I think that may have been a mistake, as they tried to probably go for another intermediate tyre and forgot to change the selection. Lap 31, and it is going to be Heischler into the lead of the Grand Prix, and unfortunately we did just miss that. I do apologise for that, but Egapro was never going to be able to compete there with a time penalty as well to their name. Unless it was the other way round, it's not going to be enough. It's going to be Jericho Willis ahead of Sulkin. These guys fought earlier on. Sulkin having an issue. I don't know what happened there. Was that lag? DRS is finally disabled. And what the hell was happening there? I'm not entirely sure, but we go now down. Oh, and it looks very close between the Williams and the Aston Martin. And Heischler, sorry, not Heischler, Briscoe makes the move as they now go back to P2 from where they were earlier. And Egapro is going to stay out and try and keep it in the wall, not out of the wall, because it might be enough, a 10-second advantage in one lap, to still hold on to that P3. And they wouldn't have lost anything. They would have tried to fight for the win, and they would have still got the podium. But that is a tricky car to drive. Slick conditions, and to a certain extent, with the situation that they're in, you're not going to be able to predict the car, and you might end up going off. You might end up getting another time penalty. No time penalty for Verf, and no grip for Egapro is going to possibly change this, and I think it might be a little bit too late. There's only 3 seconds that Verf needs to catch up here to Egapro, and they will be able to make it their podium. And 4.2 seconds, it now goes into the 3-second margin, and they're half a second away, and Verf is now into the podium position for the Singapore Grand Prix. They started P2, a P3, considering the race they've had, would not be bad at all. Will they be able to make the move on circuit as well. I think it's going to be possible. With the grip that the Aston Martin has, it's just treacherous, and there it is, an easy overtake. But a valiant effort from Egapro and giving us a good old show, doing what they could. It's just not going to be enough. They've just got to creep home. They've got 30 seconds to the next car behind. No risks need to be taken. And what a race this man's had. Absolutely phenomenal race pace. And Heisler takes the second win of his LSI F1 career. And his second win in Singapore. A phenomenal result for the McLaren team. What a race from Heisler. Briscoe, P2 on debut. I think they can be very proud of that one. Brilliant stuff. From pole position to P2. Nothing to be disappointed there. That is 16 points to their championship. Verth, P3, another podium after victory in Austria. And that is going to be a very strong campaign for the championship as they gain the championship lead. Egapro gave it his all. It's just not enough in the end. But a P4 is still good points. Sulkin across the line in P5. That's a 10-second time penalty for Jericho Willis, who unfortunately was not able to stay ahead, or actually get ahead of Sulkin in the end. Livesey, P7 right now. The points are the points. It's not the race they wanted. And they had some good moments. They had some good opportunities, but with some misfortune, was just not possible for them to utilise what they had in the race. Frantic, P8 for the Alpine car. Good preparation for tomorrow's race as well. And Zingy, unfortunately, with some terrible luck today, just didn't manage to make it work. And unfortunately, the result is going to be not appreciated. But this man is going to appreciate it a lot. Heisler wins for the second time in LSI F1. Heisler wins the Singapore Grand Prix. We wait for the results. We look at the podium, and it's McLaren on top. Heisler takes victory in Singapore. It's Briscoe in P2 and Verth in P3. Egapro, Sulkin, Jericho Willis, Dr. Livesey and Frantic in P8. Then we've got Zingy in P9 and Tom Robb DNFing earlier on in the Grand Prix. The session results have been saved. The race director is on your screen now just in case we need it for later on. And the pit stop section is also here. We'll be back for the post-race interviews. We'll see you in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Singapore Grand Prix. That was one hell of a race that we just had. Some brilliant conditions in the final moments as well. We start with Sulkin. Sulkin, that was a tough one. Wing damage for a long part of that race in the end. You managed to stay ahead of Jericho. P5, are you happy with 10 points?
Yeah, P5 I got back up in the points, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, hard race. Could probably contend for the podium, so not happy with like where I ended up. But it's well, with what happened. It's good for what happened with the wing damage and yeah at lap 6-7 or what it was. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And with the rain, what were you expecting? Were you expecting it to come a little bit earlier, a little bit later, or was it just about right?
Yeah, with my tire strategy or like my I hoped for the rain earlier, but as it came so late, my pace went off with the tires, and I couldn't make the pit stop with. I had it on auto on the wing change, so my wing didn't change, and then I had to drive 23 or 4 laps without good wings, so that ended up being quite bad, but managed to stay ahead of Frantic and had a good battle with Jericho for many laps. And then the wet came out, I finally got to change my wing and could show my pace off a bit. I felt like the intermediates was better at the end, but at the start I hated it because it was like between dry and wet, so you could see who was faster. The dry runners I pitted early because I needed to get off the wing, so you could see the drivers in the dry were quite faster than me.
Yeah, fair enough. Well said. Sorry that you didn't get onto the podium, and of course there's a long season ahead, so I'm sure you'll get an opportunity. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next time, maybe in Australia. Have a good one.
Yeah, have a real.
And we move on to Live C. Live C, that was a tough race. It looked strong in a few moments, but then just down in a few moments as well. Can you take us through it?
Yeah, I did my start's always good. I was a motocross racer, and from there I had always good, but after that it's basically nothing. So I don't really like this map. For one turn, it's really good. I love it, but in long term, I did not completed one race, so the tire degradation was basically the Joker. I had no idea how much is the degradation
Yeah.
because I don't know. Yeah, I had a contact with Zingy from the Visa shop. He came out in cold tires. I had the inside before the first DRS zone.
Yeah.
And I don't know, to be honest, I think I'm gonna report that. It was not a big momentum, but I think I had the line. After that, broken wings, go back to the pit. After two laps, I had to change another tire, so I got like 35 seconds behind. I got lucky because Frantic did the same bullshit as me in Zandvoort, wrong tires, so welcome to the club. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So P7, like usual.
A tough one. Still, consistent points, not what you want, but it's something to kind of look up on. So there's a positive out of everything. Australia, I hope you do well there. It's going to be a one hell of a circuit, and it's always one hell of a race. So thank you very much, and we look forward to that one. And we move on to Frantic. Frantic, well, he just said it. You had a few tyre issues towards the end, so that was a bit of a tough one. But did you learn a lot for tomorrow, and how was your race today?
Well, I wasn't really driving for a good result. I was just trying to have some fun, and it was fun. Tried to go for the fastest lap at the end there, which was also very fun. I think I just missed out with like 12 seconds, something like that. Didn't have the grip. Had to manage the tires a bit. But I managed to get on top of Zingy. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. I I had a crazy spin in the last sector. I didn't know if you catch that, but I clipped it just in case if you want to upload it on your YouTube short channel. So, yeah, it's a shame I cannot participate tomorrow. But Australia will be cool. So I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe the YouTube channel could benefit from that. Thank you very much, Mantic. I appreciate that. Really good effort today, and I can't wait for Australia because you're not going to be there tomorrow. Australia, I will ask you how you think the next race is going to go. Australia, is that a circuit that you like?
Well, like I said last week, I haven't really driven on it, but I'll give it my best shot. I think I'll be quick at it. I've driven it a few times on my career mode, and I won in a Haas, so that's cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So you're basically the best.
Might be, yeah.
Fair
Who
enough.
knows?
Thank you
I
very
mean, I'm
much,
leading the
Mantic.
championship though. I'm leading, so I might be the best. Who
You
knows?
might be the best. Thank you very much, Mantic. Really good effort
Hoo-ha.
today, and we'll see you next time.
Yo, appreciate it.
And we move on to Brusco. Welcome to LSI. Pole position to P2. Very, very strong race. Very strong points. Can you take us through it and how you think it went? Because you were really quick in the opening stages in clean air, but in the dirty air, it just wasn't quite so simple, was it?
Yeah, it was a really good quali. Yeah, took pole with a very good lap. Yeah. At the start of the race, I tried to gap, deployed all of my battery, and yeah, Christeller was really fast and catch me and immediately overtook me. I saw that was the rain at the start of the race. I saw that the rain was hard to go for the hard tires and last till the rain, but yeah, I took the mediums hard, and at the lap 9, my engineer said that would come the rain in 10 minutes. So I I went to the hard tires. So and then the rain come like in lap 26, and so it was a little bit of wear on that tire. Tried to do another undercut on the luggage seller with the inters, but it took too long to get wet and got mad tire wear on the tires. But yeah, it was really good, a really good result. Had good fights, and yeah, hope next week it's better or not.
Do you think if you pitted onto a different tyre, onto a second set of mediums, the race would have been a bit different?
I don't know. Maybe I should go longer with the mediums. Maybe with the strategy that Kidstalker did, it was the best one, because it took really long to get wetter. But yeah, I think I did the good strategy, but a little bit longer on every tire, and yeah, it was the good strategy. But Kidstalker was really fast today.
Yeah, it was a great race from both of you, and I will say thank you very much for reminding me to get you ready to race for today last night. So really great to see you, and welcome to LSI, and I'm sure you're going to have some brilliant results in the rest of the season. Thank you very much, and well done today.
Thank you.
And we move on to the man of the match, the man of the day, the man of the race, the MVP. I don't know what they driver of the day. That's what they call it, don't they? Heischler, well done. Second ever LSI victory in LSI F1, and your second LSI F1 victory at Singapore. Can you take us through it? Qualifying was a little bit more difficult, but in the race, that was just insane.
To be honest, I'm surprised that I have the only 2 wins I have are at Singapore, whilst it's not really a track I would say, oh, that's my favorite, or I'm quick there. So that's interesting.
Is it now your favorite?
No. No, in my opinion, it's still awful in the race. Quality is okay-ish. But yeah, quality was not ideal today. I was on a lap. No, I wasn't on a lap to do a 0.5 or 0.6. I could do a 0.5 or 0.6, but I threw a tenth away already in the first sector, and then I messed up the last chicane as well, which costed me a lot of 2 tenths or something. So It would have been an amazing lap if I put everything together, but I sadly didn't. But I made up for it in the race. I overtook Verve really easy on the start. I think he said he had a lot of wheel spin. So yeah, that was nice that I already was P2, and I didn't really bother that Bresco was pushing in at the beginning. I knew my game plan. I knew what I had to do to make the quickest race time, to do the race in the quickest time possible. So I knew what I had to do and pretty much executed the plan I had in mind. So that's amazing. I had 2 warnings in one lap, lap, what was it, 10 or something, so really early on. So I had to do the rest of the race not getting a track limit, which I managed to do, but I was on edge all the time to not get a track limit. So that's lovely that I managed to not get a penalty. And yeah, the rest of the race was just amazing. I knew I had the pace, I knew I had the wear as well over Brusco, I knew I had the strategy over him. So I was just pretty calm. I knew it would come to me, and I just did my thing. And the overtake I did on Brusco was pretty amazing, if I may say so myself. And it's also quite good to see that Jericho did a really good race as well, which I think leads us into the lead of the
It does,
Constructors
yeah.
Championship. And myself in P2 now of the drive standings, I believe. So it's a good day, and I think one more result like this, and I'm leading the championship. So, the title of my stream said, my season starts now. It very much did, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, well said, and really well done. Thank you very much for the racing that you gave us, and it was a brilliant performance. I can't say too much more than that. Congratulations on the second win, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to the teammate of Heisler, Jericho Willis. That was a tough race. That was a tough start, but I think P6 from last place at Singapore is not too bad, would you say?
Yeah, I would say that I'm surprised, actually. I knew I had to push hard at the start, and so I did. I got a good start, and I got a couple positions at the start, and then I just kind of had to wait for tire wear to start to kick in. My pace isn't particularly good around here, but in race pace, it was actually pretty good once the tire wear started to get in. So you get like 5 or 6 laps into a stint, and for some reason the tires stay alive for me, and I'm just able to close in on guys that are significantly quicker in outright pace. So that saved my day for sure. It was actually shockingly good. If it had stayed dry all day, I think I would have been right back up, pretty close to the front, and I got hung up behind Livesey and Verth for a long time. They were running significantly slower. I mean, probably 0.6, 0.7 slower than my race pace. So I lost tons of time behind them. But it's just so hard to pass around here. You don't want to risk everything. Of course, you have to risk, but you can't risk everything. And but I really have to be pretty happy. A lot of things went wrong today, but somehow ended up coming out with decent points. Good points for the team, of course. Big congratulations to Heish. He did a fantastic job today, bringing home the win for McLaren. And I was able to bring home a few points, which helps the team a lot. So all in all, happy to walk away from a track that I have badly struggled on with decent points for both myself and the team.
Yeah, and 34 points in the championship, still very strong for you. So well done. Well done for staying in it. Well done for not giving up. It was a tough one, especially with that qualifying woe, which isn't really your fault. It's just poor design for the game. So thank you very much for not giving up, and a great result. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you tomorrow for the F1.5 EU Championship. And we will see you next weekend for the Australian Grand Prix. That's going to be an absolute banger. A cracker, as they may say, over there. Thank you very much. Have a good one, and see you soon.